students, welcome back once again. Today we are here to discuss the second part of our drugs used in hypertension. So, we are here to discuss about the rest of the part of hypertensive drugs which are used in the treatment of hypertension. Let us dig into the topic. Again, I am briefing about hypertension a little bit. So, hypertension is a physiological condition when there is an increased in the arterial blood pressure than normal. The normal blood pressure range is 120 by 80, 120 is the systolic blood pressure and 80 is the diastolic blood pressure. If there is an increase in the range in these systolic and diastolic blood pressure, that is more than 140 by 90 mmHg, then the patient will be considered as hypertensive. If there is a low blood pressure than the normal range, that is lower than 120 by 80, that is lower than 90 by 60. If the patient is having blood pressure lower than 90 by 60, then the patient will be called as hypotensive patient. That means there is a decrease in arterial blood pressure. So, arterial blood pressure is very important for the overall development, overall growth, overall wellness of any individual. So, the next class which we are going to discuss about the alpha adrenergic agonist. Alpha adrenergic agonists are the agents which are used in the primary site, like the drugs called as clonidine, methyl dopa, guanabenzine, guanafacin, lofexidine have the primary site of antihypertensive action in the central nervous system to activate the alpha 2 adrenergic receptor and then ultimately lowers the blood pressure. That means, if a patient is having high blood pressure, the alpha adrenergic agonist works well. The drugs that are clonidine, methyl dopa, guanabenzine, guanafacin, lofexidine have the primary site and they works well in the central nervous system by activating the alpha 2 adrenergic receptor. What happens here is the guanabenzine, guanafacin, clonidine, tizamide, methetomidine and dexmedetomidine are all alpha 2 agonists that vary in their potency and affinities for the various alpha 2 receptor subtypes. And clonidine, tizanidine and dexmedetomidine have received the greatest clinical use. That means, nowadays and earlier also these drugs are used in a vast demand. What is the mechanism of action of alpha adrenergic agonist? Adrenergic alpha agonists are a class of sympathomimetic agents that selectively stimulates the alpha adrenergic receptors. The alpha adrenergic receptors has two subclasses, alpha 1 and alpha 2. The alpha 2 receptors are associated with the sympatholytic properties. Alpha adrenergic agonists have the opposite function of alpha blockers. The selective agonists which are used here, alpha 1 adrenergic receptor agonist, that is phenylephrine, methoxamine, midodrine, metaraminol, and alpha 2 adrenergic receptor agonists are clonidine, xylazine, guanafacin, guanabenzine, apraclonidine and lofexidine. So, these are the agents which are used at adrenergic alpha receptor. So, adrenergic alpha receptor, we know there are two subclasses, alpha 1 and alpha 2. So, these are the agents, these are divided into such type that these are the agent. What are the agents? Phenylephrine, methoxamine, midodrine and metaraminol works as alpha 1 adrenergic receptor agonist, whereas the other agents, that is clonidine, xylazine, guanafacin, guanabenzine apraclonidine and lofexidine are used as alpha 2 adrenergic receptor agonist. Then the SAR of alpha adrenergic agonist, that means all the alpha adrenergic agonist either alpha 1 or alpha 2 will be worked. The SAR for those are same. So, you can see the structure here. This is the structure. You can see this is the alpha carbon and this is the beta carbon. So, if this is the R1 and this is the R2, if there is substitution done on R1, that is by increasing the size of R1, the activity, beta activity, this beta activity will be increases, alpha activity will be somewhat decreases. Then tertiary butyl, if we add tertiary butyl agent here, then the beta activity, beta 2 activity increases and the degeneration by MAO is decreases. That means for making a potent agent, we can add several things at the R1 position. That means the R1 position should be very effectively substituted, so to maintain the antihypertensive activity. Then comes the second part. Let us see what we can do at the R2 substitution on carbon 2. That is, if we add small alkali groups like methyl or ethyl, then what happens? Then the degeneration by MAO is decreased. Again, R2 position is also very important for the antihypertensive activity. So, if we substituted with methyl or ethyl group, then the degeneration by MAO is decreased, there will be no degeneration. Then still substrates for COMT, little effect on DOA. Ethyl group, if we add ethyl group here, then there is decrease in alpha activity, then beta selective activity, more beta selectivity activity, alpha activity will be less, whereas beta activity will be more. Like example is also given here, that is ethyl norepinephrine. Then CNS activity will be increased, oral activity will be increased if we add ethyl group to the R2 position, and ultimately alpha 2 activity will be increased. So, we have seen till if we made the changes in R1 and R2. Let us see what other changes we can do to this ring. If we do aromatic substitution at this ring, then both alpha and beta agonistic activity will be increased. Okay. If we remove hydroxyl group from the third and fourth position, if we remove the hydroxyl group, then there will be the poor oral activity. If we add the hydroxyl group at the third and fourth position, obviously the activity will be increased. Then by adding 3-5 dihydroxyl group, the example is metaprotenol, and 3-CH2OH and 4OH group is added albuterol, then beta 2 activity will be increased and degeneration by COMT will be decreased. Absorption will be increased, oral activity will be increased, everything will be on its the potency. Then if we add only OH group at the fourth position, which is very good for beta activity, whereas if we add OH at 3 position, then it is good for the alpha activity. Then the examples are phenylephrine and alpha agonist. Then no phenolic substitution happens, then both alpha and beta activity will be decreased. That means I told you already, if we remove the OH groups from here, then the activity will sufficiently decreases, that means it will not affect hypertensive patients. And if we add on hydroxyl group here, we have taken some example. If we add 3 4 both hydroxyl group, what happens if we add at 3 and 5 hydroxyl group, what happens if we add only at 4th position hydroxyl group, only at 3rd position at hydroxyl group, what will happen? If we do such type of changes, in the activity, then the activity will increases. So, we have seen till now is if we do the changes at R1, if we do changes at R2 and if we do changes at the ring, then the 3rd and 4th position, what happens? The hydroxyl group, if we remove, the activity will sufficiently decrease, and if we add on the hydroxyl group, the activity will sufficiently increase. Next, what happens if we do the substitution on either carbon 1 and carbon 2, that yields the optical isomers? Then the isomers, that correct configuration for direct activity, the more potent enantiomer, that is 1R configuration, this enantiomer is typically severe 100 folds more potent than the enantiomer with JS configuration. And if we do the substitution at R2, that is carbon 2nd, the examples are given, methyl or ethyl substitution if we do, then what will happen? The alpha carbon of the ethylamine side chain reduces directly, agonist activity at both alpha and beta receptors. And if we do the alpha substitution, that also significantly affects the receptor selectivity, and if we do alpha methyl more epinephrine, it is the erythro, that is 1R 2S isomer, that possesses significant activity at alpha 2 receptors. So, we can see that there are several changes we can make which ultimately affects the alpha and beta receptors both, either it is alpha 1, alpha 2, beta 1, beta 2, it affects very much possibility. Then where we can use this, the uses of antihypertensive agents are, obviously it can be used in hypertension, then they can use in attention deficit hyperactivity disorders, they can be used in various pain and panic disorders, they can be used in the symptoms of opioid, they can be used in benzodiazepine and alcohol withdrawal also. So, these are the general uses for antihypertensive agents. Then comes the vasodilators, again a class where they are very useful in decreasing the blood pressure. In this class, we study about the hydralazine, dihydrolazine and minoxidil. They are not used as primary drugs. Vasodilators are always given with the combination with other antihypertensive agents to treat hypertension. These vasodilators acts by producing relaxation of vascular smooth muscles primarily in the arteries and arterioles. This results in decreased peripheral resistance. So, by using vasodilators along with other medicinal agents useful for hypertension condition, the condition can be controlled very easily. Both the agents, they produces reflex stimulation to the heart, resulting in the competing reflexes of increased myocardial contractility, heart rate and finally oxygen consumption. Hydralazine is an accepted medication for controlling blood pressure in pregnancy also. That means the hypertension, pregnancy induced hypertension we can say. So, this drug is also used topically to treat male pattern baldness. Then comes the mechanism of action of vasodilators, how vasodilators are used, why they are used. Minoxidil is not active in vitro. So, it is metabolized by hepatic sulfotransferase to the active molecule minoxidil NO sulfate. Then minoxidil sulfate activates the ATP modulated potassium channel in smooth muscles, and by opening these potential channels, thereby permitting the potential efflux, it causes hyperpolarization and relaxation to the smooth muscles. So, minoxidil helps the patients of hypertension by opening the potassium channels and permitting the potential efflux, causes the hyperpolarization and relaxation of the smooth muscles. Then hydralazine, how it works? Hydralazine directly relaxes the arteriolar smooth muscles. Molecular targets, mechanisms that explains its capacity to dilate arterial, that remains uncertain. So, something that helps directly, that is hydralazine. It relaxes the arteriolar smooth muscles. Then sodium nitroprusside. Sodium nitroprusside works, it is a nitro vasodilator that acts by releasing nitrous oxide. Then nitrous oxide activates the guanyl cyclase, cyclic GMP, PKG pathway, which leading to vasodilation, and it mimics the production of NO by vascular endothelial cells, which is impaired in many hypertensive patients. So, sodium nitroprusside also plays a very important role as vasodilators. Then comes dioxazide. This is also called as long acting and arteriolar vasodilator. How it works? It prevents the vascular smooth muscle contraction by opening ATPase sensitive K channel, stabilizes of membrane potential at RMP, no contraction and relaxation. Ultimately, it decreases the PR and decreases the blood pressure. Then pharmacological effects of it, it dilates only the arteries, it decreases the PR and rapid decrease in BP with increase in heart rate and increase in compensatory mechanism. Then the centrally acting sympatholytics. How the sympatholytics works? Sympatholytic drugs that can block this sympathetic adrenergic system are three different levels. First, peripheral sympatholytic drugs such as alpha adrenoceptor and beta adrenoceptor antagonists blocks the influence of norepinephrine at the effector organ, heart or blood vessels, you can say. Secondly, there are ganglionic blockers that blocks impulse transmission at the sympathetic ganglia, and third, these are drugs that block sympathetic activity within the brain. These are called as centrally acting sympatholytic drugs. So, these sympatholytic drugs can work differently by three ways. First, by peripheral sympatholytic drugs like alpha adrenoceptor and beta adrenoceptor antagonist that blocks the influence of norepinephrine at the effector organ. Secondly, they are ganglionic blockers that blocks impulse transmission at the sympathetic ganglia, and third, there are drugs that block sympathetic activity within the brain. So, by acting through these three ways, they can act successfully. Then centrally acting sympatholytic blocks sympathetic activity by binding and to activating alpha 2 adrenoreceptor. This reduces sympathetic outflow of the heart, thereby decreasing cardiac output by decreasing heart rate and contractility. By reducing the heart rate and contractility, the blood pressure can be controlled by increasing the blood, by increasing the dilation, by doing the dilation of the blood vessels, the contractility of the heart, the workload on the heart can be decreased. So, reduced sympathetic output of the vasculature decreases sympathetic vascular tone, which causes vasodilation, and reduced systemic vascular resistance, which decreases arterial pressures. Now, how these work, how this centrally acting sympatholytic works. The agent which is here we are going to discuss is methyl dopa. Methyl dopa is an alpha 2 adrenergic receptor agonist, acts centrally by decreasing the sympathetic outflow, which in turn lowers the blood pressure. This is the structure of methyl dopa. So, ultimately the methyl dopa, which works on alpha 2 adrenergic receptor agonist as an alpha 2 adrenergic receptor agonist, acts centrally by decreasing its sympathetic outflow, which in turn lowers the blood pressure. Where it can be used? It can be used to treat hypertension in combination with the diuretics. Then this is the synthesis of methyl dopa, where 1,3,4-dimethoxyphenyl propane 2-one is reacted with KCN and NH4Cl, and there is a formation of first intermediate, which is then converted into the second intermediate by the action of concentrated H2SO4, and ultimately the second intermediate converted into methyl dopa by the action of HCl in presence of ethanol. So, this is the synthesis of methyl dopa. Again I am repeating, when 1,3,4-dimethoxyphenyl propane 2-one reacts with KCN and NH4Cl and formation of first intermediate happens. This first intermediate converts into the second intermediate by the action of concentrated H2SO4, and ultimately the second intermediate converts into methyl dopa by the action of ethyl alcohol and HCl. Then the methyl dopa SAR, we can see the structure of methyl dopa at the bottom of the slide. So, how it works? When the R1 and R2, that means the groups R1 and R2 are OH catecholamine, OH, then the example is catecholamine, decreases the oral activity. OH catecholamines decreases the oral activity. Then the substitution on amine group, that is R3, if we add on R3 the amine group, beta selectivity increases, and if we do the substitution on alpha carbon, it blocks the metabolism by MAO, and OH at beta carbon enhances the adrenoreceptor activating property. So, by changing the groups, by addition the groups on R1, R2 and R3, we can see the potency of methyl dopa. Then these are the references I have used. Let us summarize this quickly. Yes, this is the hypertension. We have discussed about the hypertension. Hypertension is considered as the physiological condition when there is a increase in blood pressure, that is normal blood pressure is 120/80. If the blood pressure is increased by 140 to 90, then it will be called as higher blood pressure. If the blood pressure is lower than 90/60, then it will be called as hypotension and low blood pressure. Then these are the agents which we have studied about. Alpha adrenergic agonist we have studied about, we have studied about its mechanism of action, how it working. So, alpha adrenergic agonist, there are two receptors, alpha 1 and alpha 2. There are certain agents which works on alpha 1 and alpha 2. Clonidine is the agent which works on alpha 2 receptors. So, here they are work. This is the SAR we have already discussed about. We have divided the SAR into three parts. First part was beta phenyl ethylamine, second is the catechol ring, and third is the 1R OH group. So, we have divided the full SAR into three groups, and we have seen if we add or subtract any group, any small group or big group at the R1 and R2 positions and the in the ring positions also. So, these are the uses: hypertension in attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, various pains and panic disorders, symptoms of opioid, benzodiazepine and alcohol withdrawals. Then comes the vasodilators. Vasodilators are the agent which are used to dilate the blood vessels, and these blood vessels are dilated for the betterment of the patients of hypertension, and these vasodilators are given with the other agents meant for hypertension. This is the mechanism of action of various hypertensive agents. We have already discussed all of it. Then we have discussed about the centrally acting sympatholytics. They work by done the three pathways, by applying on the three pathways on the peripheral sympatholytic drugs such as alpha adrenoreceptor, second is ganglionic blocker, and the third is sympathetic activity within the brain. So, like this they work. This is the mechanism of action of sympatholytics. This is the synthesis of methyl dopa we have discussed. This is the SAR we have discussed about what happens if we substitute the R1, R2 and R3 with various groups. These are the references I have used. There are certain books for chemistry, and for ecology I have used Essential of Medical Chemistry. Hope the session was helpful to you. Thank you so much.